3 decades ago, you were playing on the Oklahoma Sooners squad. You were co-captain, also Dean's List, all 4 years, might say.
Yep.
After that, you went into the NFL. You were at the Giants for 2 years and the Jets for 1.
Yep.
And then in the subsequent years, you've been in the business of both sports marketing and in software, right? And so now you're trying to address the problems of what's going on with college football in a new social sort of app. And I want to just set the scene for people who may not be familiar with the sport. A lot of things have happened in college sports in the last 3-4 years. Number one, the Supreme Court said you can't prohibit college players from being paid. Number two, the NCAA changed the rules on how you can transfer schools. You no longer have to sit out a year if you want to transfer, which means now students who don't like their coach, don't like how much playing time they're getting, they're on the transfer market and they're able to play the next year. And then lastly, schools themselves have been in pursuit of profit, trying to move from this conference to that conference. It's totally changed the way things have worked. Tell us how Edge 3 is meant to address that.
Well, we're here to bring data to both sides, much what you've heard earlier. How you search, how do you find the right fit? All of those things that we did at the professional model now have moved to the collegiate model. And so you have kids and parents that are making $4 million decisions. You have schools now that are making $4 million decisions. And what are they using today to do that is an old system that's been around for the last 40 years. And it has to pivot. So what we are doing is bringing tools that are much like in the business community now, which we heard a lot of those in the earlier panel. And we're using personas to change the search. So athletes are looking for schools. They are sellers. Well, what do I have and who should buy my goods? And so we are going to and have aggregated all of the Division I schools and what they are doing on the field. And then we have a history of that because we're able to pull that data and start to analyze it and model it out to give you a quick answer, which is, what school is best for me? And coaches are asking the same question. What kid should I pay, and how should I pay them, and how much should I pay them? And so where you place that at, with an old model where you have analysts and you don't have enough resources, is you use AI. And that's what we're doing to help these coaches and athletes.
You talk about the data, and there's lots of data out there. I can't tell you how many times I see people, saying these are the 5-star high school players out there that ought to be recruited by the big schools. What's your system do that's different to that? It's predicting how they're going to perform in college?
Yes. So the current rating systems are rating peer-to-peer. And that is, how do you compare to a kid in your class or another athlete in your class? They're not comparing them to the athletes that are playing at the collegiate level. What we are doing is taking all of those athletes at the collegiate level for the last 15 years and comparing you to that. And then we're projecting that out to the NFL. So for instance, if you go online right now and type in Kenyon Rasheed, you'll be able to find my 40-yard dash time. Now, what I'll tell you is that it's not too good. But the fact that the data still exists out there should tell you how much data exists on athletes. So aggregating that data and developing baselines on it is what we've been able to do with Edge 3.
And some of the predictive models you're using are quite interesting. I mean, you were telling me earlier about not just if somebody plays football well, but if they play other sports or if they have relatives who played other sports and that kind of thing factoring in.
So all of those things start to factor in when you start looking at success models. And so as a parent, if I have a kid who is playing sports, what I want to know is, what should I do with him? Who should I talk with to give me information to best guide my son? And what we've seen with youth sports is everybody's paying. It's $20 to get into a youth third grade game now. It's $15 to park. I got a trainer that I'm paying $85 a week to train my daughter or my son. So what next? How do I progress past this? What camp should I go to? What unofficial visits should I attend? If I do and am lucky enough to be recruited and I've got 3 schools, how do I determine which one's the best fit for me? So I went to Oklahoma. I was recruited by every school in the country. I mean, every one of them. And as an 8th grader, I had college coaches telling me everything great about myself in the school. How do I know the difference if I'm just listening to a coach? So what we've done is say, okay, we hear you, we're going to learn who you are because all your data is public. You've already put it out there. So we're going to give you a picture of who they see you to be. And then we're going to take in some additional data points, and then we're going to start to run it against those baselines to determine if you are more likely to be successful against those rosters. And it's been eye-opening.
So with these predictive models, clearly you've got to use AI to pull in all this data. You said you had 15,000 students in the system. Yes. So you got to pull that in with AI. How else are you using AI in the system to enable people to access it?
So this is the great thing about bringing AI to life, is we don't see AI unless we're using it ourselves. And so what we began to do with schools and college coaches is, how are you communicating with student athletes, and when do you have to communicate? How much time do you have in a day to do that? What are the compliance rules around when you can communicate? Because if we can eliminate some of that through our AI by asking the right questions on the front end to get a better understanding of who that kid is and whether he fits your culture, then we are doing a lot of the work that you can't do. And at the end of the day, when someone goes to write a check for something, what do you write a check for? Either you're going to save me time or you're going to save me money. And those are the two things that we are saving on both sides of this equation that everyone is doing in our business world in different verticals. We have just applied it to the users in an industry that no one sees the processes of. And so that's what's been so eye-opening about this.
And some people, myself included, until we started to talk, would think, okay, college football, it's a big deal, but they can't be spending that much money on this. What's the typical Division I school spending on recruiting students?
Just on recruiting alone is about $2 million. But what I can tell you is that student athletes, because of the name, image, and likeness law, are being paid like professional athletes. So we are all in Chicago. I'm pretty sure they did a deep dive on Caleb Williams before they drafted. It's called the combine. It's called interviews. It's called all of that. Well, in today's world, a coach has to decide, do I keep recruiting a high school kid or do I recruit a college kid? And I got 48 hours to make that decision. But you've given me the same resources that I've had 20 years ago. So how do I apply it? So what we've done is said we can help you on both sides by accelerating those processes.
And the kids can be helped by this too, right? Particularly the kids, and I found this interesting, who are not being sought after necessarily by colleges, not being offered scholarships, kids who aren't as good as you were one day.
Well, thank you.
And those are the kids that can help because they can then understand what their market is, right?
Well, what we tell kids is most of the kids are sellers. And by that, I mean, there's no buyers. I want to go to college. I want to play college football, but I'm 5'10" and I run a 5'1". Well, you still think you're going to Alabama. Most kids still believe that they can go there. So what we do is say, okay, well, what are you good at? Let's look at your strengths, and then let's look at the schools who value those strengths, because we can look across every school that is out there, Division I, Division II, and we can look across every player that's ever played at those schools to find a likely match for you. So we're not saying you can't play at Alabama. We're saying you're more likely to be successful at Illinois State. And if we can give you that earlier in your career from a mom or dad, then maybe you start making financial decisions in sports that fit more likely outcomes. That's the hope.
There were a lot of companies you probably could have gone to try and create this AI-driven system. You chose IBM. Why?
Well, because my data still exists on the internet and I don't like it. So data governance is going to be a key to this, because at the end of the day, athletes are starting to understand that that data is worth money. So who's protecting that data? Who's making sure that that data is authentic? So an example that I give is, pretty soon you're going to see an athlete on TV talking like me. And it's not going to be me, but it will sound like me. It will look like me. It will interact with you like me. And it will come from a platform called Edge 3, because we have a bunch of us that parents can't connect with directly. So how do we scale it? We use AI to scale it.
Right. And this system now in beta, right? You're intending to go public with this in August?
In August 1st.
Okay. And so just so you know, if any of you are parents of high school age football players in this room, he will be at the reception afterwards. So if you want to ask him a couple questions before this goes live, that's your opportunity. Sir, thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Appreciate it.